Rob, strange way, I suppose current times are like that, but Tuesday night at London Irish, you don't normally say midweek games, but first one with crowds back, it's going to be a cracker, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant. I'm really looking forward to it. As you'll have been aware, as soon as London Irish asked if we'd be interested in moving the fixture, of course, BT asked us, PRL asked us, we said, without doubt, because we've got to be very proactive in trying to get the game back on its feet and getting supporters in and getting the tills ringing a bit and getting the atmosphere building and getting people back to used to heading into stadiums and giving people the opportunity to see how it's going to work logistically. And I think it's a really important step. So I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to going to Brentford and London Irish's new stadium. It looks fantastic. I think it'd be a great experience for us, and we've got to make sure that brings the best out of us.
What about London Irish? You've seen different London Irish this year, haven't we, compared to perhaps previous campaigns? They're a tough nut now.
Yes, right here and now they're a difficult one to put your finger on because they've had some very good performances, some good dogged performances as well, some performances where they've been unlucky to lose, and then they've had a performance last week that they'll be disappointed in, whereas there's over half the game gone and it's a very competitive game, and then the scoreboard just all of a sudden opens up against them, and they'll have talked a lot about that this week and be frustrated by that. They'll have had 10 days to try and talk about putting it right and getting themselves refreshed, and it's going to be one of those challenges. It's going to be one of those challenges where you can suddenly drop yourself into the front of a tornado if you're not prepared for it, and that's what we've got to prepare for this weekend. We've got to be prepared to make sure we're kind of ready to meet fire with fire.
Tornadoes, winds, we had plenty of wind here for Worcester, but when you reflect on that performance, you must take a great satisfaction out of it.
And to be honest with you, one of the things I was most pleased with was that first half, because I know it sounds strange, we went in at half-time, points down, got 10-8 down, but if you needed to be here, it's one of those games where you really needed to be here as a supporter to understand what it was like. I mean, it genuinely was 40-mile-an-hour winds down the length of the pitch, and we played into that, and we had a very strict and rigid game plan about how we had to get out of our half, and how we had to stop Worcester capitalising on things. We pretty much made one error in that half, which was the charge down kick, which led to the try. But other than that, we managed to keep Worcester at arm's length. We managed to score some points of our own. And then second half, other than brief moments where Worcester broke out, we pretty much took control of the game. And I thought that ability in the first half, particularly when we went under pressure on the scoreboard, to not overdo it was fantastic. Because if we'd have tried too hard to force the ball in that first half, we could have easily ended up 2 or 3 scores down. And we didn't. We stayed patient with it. We worked hard at what we did, and ultimately that's what created the platform for us to win the game as we did. And that shows a lot of character in the team, and it shows an understanding of what we need to do.
The downside of it was obviously the injury to Jack Nowell. Bring us up to speed a little bit of how Jack is.
Yeah, it's not a season ender. It's an MCL injury. Jack is already in having physio every hour that God sends. He's going flat out at it. He's determined to get himself available before the end of the season. He is very, very good at recovery. He's probably the best guy at this kind of thing we've had here, and it is the kind of injury that potentially could be right. Obviously, what we're not going to do is we're not going to check him out there if it's not right. But he's got the opportunity to be right, and I hope that works really well for him and for us, and that we get him back for some active game time before the end of the season.
With somebody like Jack, when he has 3 injuries like he's had, is it tough to pick him up, or is he that character that he has that initial disappointment, but then it bounces back almost?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, he was as upset as I've seen him coming off the pitch at the weekend, and he'll know it's not the worst injury he's had, but obviously we're getting to that business end of the season, and that frustration of just an injury on top of an injury and lengthy periods out is starting to tell on him. That said, he had that kind of 48 hours of probably not being in communication with anybody really and burying his head a little bit, but he bounced back from it. I had a couple of really positive phone calls with him. Obviously he's in and around the place now, smiling and chatting and working hard, being back to that bouncy character. He'll get on with things now. He'll work very hard for us, and if anybody can do it, he will.